it's the difference between intellectual understanding and experiential understanding. And both are very important, but one of them is most of the time not sufficient.
I love that experience. So for those that are listening out there, I love the comparison of the two, of intellectual and also experience. And we know that a lot of people would say this all the time, experience is the best teacher. And I would have to agree with you completely that you cannot speak fully and authentically to something unless you have had that experience. It would be counterfeit. It would not be authentic, or neither would it be organic. So I love how and it's almost as if too, Christian, that you are also putting the power back into the individual's hands to have the experience, as you mentioned, being open to have that experience and knowing that you have the ability to, as you said, we can't change everything in life or change certain events from taking place. However, we do have the ability to move things in a more positive, uplifting fashion. So as we talk about that piece, you've trained amazing tennis athletes and champions. What would you say you've learned as you were training them and still continue to do training with the Adidas runners community? What would you say is one of the most valuable things you've learned from your community that you have been able to use in your own life and then further develop?
Yeah, I mean, there's many, for people that are accomplished, that have dedicated their life to what they're passionate about, and they have consistently and systematically trained over many years, and they love it more than anything else in their life, or maybe there's one or two other things in their life that they love and are passionate about just as much as about this activity or this accomplishment that they want to get to, is the consistency on the one side, the attention to detail, and the dedication to it. So, and that is by far not the only three things, but it is whatever, no matter how good you are at something, no matter how much you love something, and no matter how hard you train, if you only do it for a year, 2 years, or 3 years, like, you're never going to be able to be as good as if you would have done it for 15 years or 20 years. That same person. So it's just, on the one side, it's a time factor. There's, of course, always there's always exceptions, right? There's certain activities, certain sports where you will peak at a very early age, right? Sometimes people will be like, wow, that in order to perform at your absolute optimal level, like, it will be somewhere between the years of 14 and 18. And after that activity is so hard on the body that, like, you will already deteriorate, just physically speaking. That's also possible. And then there's other activities in life where you do them for 10 years, you do them for 30, you do them for 50, and you will just keep improving at them. So there's, of course, a lot of kind of differences. But the point is, whether you're a gymnast who maybe peaks a little earlier in life, just physiologically speaking, or whether you are an ultra runner that will peak later, or even tennis players, right, for example, is that there's a minimum amount of years that you need to be training this with the absolute number one priority in your life. Everything else is secondary. It does not matter what. And every single thing that you do will either benefit this goal of what you are so passionate about and what you want to accomplish. And it doesn't have to be in sport. It could be in art. It could be in your profession. Maybe you're a scientist. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a businessman. Whatever you are doing, it doesn't matter. The principles are always the same. And you have to also not do all of the things that will make it more difficult to accomplish your goal. So it's a twofold. It's not just you need to train this much and at this intensity. It's also you cannot do this and this and this. You cannot go to bed late. You can not drink a lot of alcohol. You can not neglect what you're eating, right? So there are so many components. So when somebody is really amazing, and this is a little bit more specific to sports, maybe if you're a certain kind of artist, what you're eating is not that important to your performance because it's more the creative aspect of things. But arguably, if you live a healthier lifestyle, you're going to feel better. You might be more creative, but we're getting into
Absolutely.
another realm there. However, that means that if, let's say, an athlete has a physical training program, what most people understand as like, okay, how much do you train actually? Like, what do you do? And then there's like, well, I train 4 hours a day. I do 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon or something, because you have a physical workout, you train your skills, your technique in whatever sport it is. But the reality is that you're actually, from the moment you wake up until the moment you're in bed, everything that you do and don't do is tailored with a thought in mind that when you train, you will be able to perform at your optimal level.
Wow.
So that is a whole other aspect that like
powerful.
People have a hard time grasping because your whole life is structured around it. Everything. That doesn't mean you don't do anything that's fun. It's just if it's fun and it's like has a negative impact on your performance, then you don't do it or you do it very little. And the most accomplished, most successful people that have been doing this now for many years, because you need to do it for many years to get to your optimal level. Now, think about this. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years from the age when they were 5 or 10 years old, they're doing this basically every single day. That is very, very impressive and humbling to see how a human being has this ability to really prioritize something because they have so much passion for it. And that is why so many people say, accurately, like, what you want to accomplish this, like, you better really love it. Because if you don't love it, you're not going to do all the things that you do. You're going to do what is necessary, what you deem necessary, maybe a little bit more, but you're not going to do everything. Why are you not going to do it? Because you don't enjoy it most of the time. So if not eating chocolate all day and not being allowed to drink alcohol hardly ever and going to sleep early is like really not enjoyable for you all the time, chances are you're going to do it for a little bit and then eventually you're going to stop.
Absolutely.
That's why figure out if you are in the fortunate situation in your life, you have life circumstances where you're so lucky that you theoretically could choose to do what you're passionate about, regardless of how much or how little money you have or will earn with it. But you will be able to live safely and you're able to survive. There's many people in the world that don't fall into this category, right? Or any more than not. Then I would highly encourage everybody to go on an exploratory tour in your life and figure out what is your passion. You can't know, you don't know what you don't know, okay? But you also know that you don't know. So if I know that I don't know what I'm passionate about, that opens up a new door. And this door is, let's explore. And if you find something that you're passionate about, really passionate about, you're going to realize that pretty early on, like within the first couple of weeks, I would say, weeks to months, you're going to be like, wow, I just love this. And you're not going to do anything else anymore. You don't want to do anything else because it's the thing that you enjoy most.
I agree with you totally. I totally agree. And taking time to go, as you mentioned, on that exploratory self-discovery journey and finding out, because I believe 100% that we all, apart from a daily job, like you mentioned, a career, that we all are born or gifted with purpose. But the only way I truly believe we could find it out is, as you mentioned, You have to take the time to go on that exploratory journey in order to find out exactly what is that thing that you're most passionate about, as Christian said, guys. So really, really take the time, even when this interview segment is over, he's downloading and sharing so much that will cause you to really want to move and create healthy habits. As Christian was talking, I was hearing a few things in your complete answer and wisdom sharing. I kept hearing healthy habits and endurance. And I believe I heard endurance because dealing with runners, whether it's a sprint runner or a distance runner, training is involved. But with that training, there has to be an inner component of endurance, and that it is not happening overnight. So for those that are listening who have an interest and really want to shift some things in the mind capacity of their former operation, Christian has shared amazing advice. And I was going to ask you this question, but I believe I already know the answer. Would you say that through the work that you're doing, Christian, you are living in your purpose?
It would be funny if I say no. Like no. I have been so fortunate to do what I'm passionate about, and what you are passionate about also can shift, right? It can evolve. It's not that what I used to be passionate about, now I totally have a strong aversion to, and I'm doing something completely unrelated. I mean, not that that can't happen, but definitely everything that I have done in my life has led to what I am doing right now. I would do everything exactly the same way again, including I'm not saying that because I've done everything right, far from it. But all of the mistakes that I have done, all of the things that I didn't know and then that I have eventually learned, have been of great benefit to me. The accomplishments as well as the failures. And failure is a very, very important part of life. And once we develop this ability to change our perspective, to not look as mistakes as something that is wrong, but that mistakes and failures are positive. Because when you do something wrong, and you will have a certain reaction to it. And this reaction will trigger, basically, to simplify it, anytime you make a mistake, especially if you do many mistakes, your brain becomes more plastic. And if you have a certain goal in mind while you are making mistakes, then the more your brain becomes more and more plastic. And when you then get something right, you will have a bigger release in dopamine. And then the release in dopamine, in combination with your brain being plastic, allows you to learn what you wanted to learn quicker. And that does not limit it to physical skills. That is anything. It could be memorizing things, it could be understanding things, it could be anything. This shift, in my perspective, was huge. That doesn't mean that when I'm making mistakes, including now, that it is pleasant, that I have, that I'm happy in the sense of that I feel good in my body when I make a mistake. It's far from it. I have the opposite. I have a very, very unpleasant reaction when I do something really wrong. I have a strong release of adrenaline. I start shaking sometimes, actually. But I understand now intellectually that that is good. That's what I want to be because I have such a strong reaction to it. My brain becomes more, not because I have the strong reaction, but because I'm making the mistake, my brain is more plastic. Because I have this strong, unpleasant reaction, it means that I really want to improve it. And now I'm learning much quicker. So now I'm intentionally putting myself into situations where I know for a fact I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not doing the mistake on purpose. I'm just doing something intentionally as good as I can while knowing I can't do it yet. So I will fail. I will do mistakes. But now